Okay. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. And thank you so much for joining me this evening on Talk and Sip, Saturday night. And hope you're doing well. I want to thank you for those who are joining me on Facebook, those on YouTube, and those on Instagram. But for those on Instagram, that is just a teaser for coming over onto YouTube. Uh, Tonight is going to be a very interesting night. There's going to be a couple of different sectors of discussion, whereby is there confidence in Jamaica's financial sector? I'll be having various different guests tonight. I'll have Mr. Andre Haughton, former senator. I don't know if former senator, he's going to confirm to me, but a lecturer at the University of the West Indies. I'm going to have Miss Jean Lowrie-Chin. She's going to come on tonight, all being well. And of course, my resident guest, O'Neill Cross, will join me as well, and different persons. And if you want to join in and maybe to have a discussion, and to also maybe, if possible, to call in, I'll give you the number as well. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay. Hey, O'Neill, how you doing?
I am good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you very clearly. Just turn this down. How you doing?
I am good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, there's so much things. Yeah, there's so much. Yeah, likewise. Busy my side as well. But hey, I always say we gotta first talk about what we're drinking.
Well, I saw the switch up today.
You saw the switch up today. You're not drinking anything.
No, I'm drinking, but I'm gonna let you guess actually what I'm drinking. I'm drinking
Okay.
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
It's typically what you drink on a Saturday in Jamaica.
Soup.
Yes. Some most people some chicken back soup.
Some chicken back soup.
Yeah.
I know D was going all around the world today trying to find some cock soup or something like that.
Yeah, it's just funny. When you say that, I actually was trying to find some cock soup because I had some and it finished. So I went out to try to get some. So you sort of have to be creative when you can't find it. Yeah.
Well, I just I always have my basic wine, which doesn't do much really. For those of ladies and gentlemen, if you're drinking something on Talk and Sip, the most important thing, you got to drink something as well. You got a soup, you got a tea or whatever like that, you know.
I know.
Mm. But listen,
So
listen, it's but before we get on to any of the guests and wait for them to come on, a very interesting thing which is happening over there in the United States of America, isn't it?
oh yeah, you have
Yeah,
the incident in Memphis. I think is what you're talking about.
yeah, the killing of that young man there, Tyrese
Yeah.
Nichols.
It's unfortunate. So it's not recent. They
That
just
that's
released.
that's what I found out.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
recent. So it was under investigation for some time, and they released the footage or numerous footage from that night. And
Mm.
if you have the stomach to watch it, um, it's just gut wrenching to see what led to it. Based on multiple different video angles, and apparently there was um, a video that was on a light, one of the light poles,
Mm.
and it gives you a great angle. And um,
Sorry, Lester just said bless up to the losing Brazilians.
yeah,
Yeah.
bless up to the bandwagon is
The
an
wagon.
Argentinian fan. Um, so it's a tragedy, and it
Mm.
tells you that you know we have to have the conversation on how we do law enforcement for the 24th century and beyond, or 21st century and beyond, because we shouldn't live in a place where you're 40 yard from your house. It's a
Yeah.
traffic stop, and that traffic stop ended up with the young man getting a beating that I don't think any one of those cop can explain why. It's another human being, and I think the tragic part of it too, there were tons of people who just stand by. There are people who came by and
Mm,
joined the fight, and it's as if uh, nobody had the courage and the fortitude to say, hold on, what's going on here? From, it seems to me, the supervisors all the way down. So I think we have to have accountability, but we
mm,
also have to figure out how to have the bigger conversation around police reform in a meaningful way. And I think there's some, and I saw, I think it was Baby Sham or Bone Tequila put it on
mm,
his page and talk about the fact if it was another color police officers, there would be different in terms of everyone coming out and having an opinion. And it just tells you that we need police reform, and it's not just a white thing or a black thing. Is that how do we build trust in the law enforcement institution that is there to serve the community? Because if we, just like in the UK, right, we pay for their salaries, right? We pay their salaries, right? And they take a oath to protect and to serve, and that wasn't the case right there. So we'll see what comes out of it. Obviously, there has been in Memphis and across the country, different cities where you have a protest. But I do believe we should take this opportunity to have the conversation around, how do we get here, and then what are the things in terms of reforms that needs to take place for us to have confidence that our sons and daughters will not have that sort of outcome and encounter when they, you know, encounter any law enforcement around the country. So it's a tragedy and it's sad.
yeah, yeah, because one look at it this way and say, how will they demonstrate? How will people demonstrate now when Biden talked about, hey, let's watch our demonstration, but where are they going to burn down on where are they going to demonstrate? Because not like it's white brutality to a certain extent. It is the police force that we're talking about here.
Yeah, in Memphis, Memphis, I believe the police chief is black, as well, and there's a significant amount of blacks in that officer corps.
Mm,
It's sad. So the question becomes, how do we take this moment to have that real conversation around police reform in a very meaningful way? And I think over the years, obviously George Floyd was really tragic, right?
yeah.
Now we have this in
Mm,
case, which tells you we need to elevate it above race, and then make it about how do we create the reform and the
mm,
transformation of our law enforcement community so we could be safe when we have
No,
any.
nah, you know.
yeah,
And also, it's not, you know, sometimes we try to paint a broad brush too, I'm sure, but
yeah,
that night when you watch the video, there was no good human being as part of that community that
yeah,
had beat
yeah.
that guy. Eventually.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, good evening, Dr. Andre On. How are you doing, sir? Can you hear me clearly?
Camera.
You can hear me, Andre?
I don't think he's hearing.
Oh yeah, I think I heard him a while ago. Andre,
I don't
can you
think
hear me?
can you hear?
Can you
Can
hear
you?
us?
I
Oh
don't
no,
think.
I can't hear.
Oh, you
Yeah,
can't hear.
yeah, he can't. We could hear you.
We we
We
can
could,
hear you.
but
Uh
we could hear you.
we okay. Let me just say to him, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's not hearing us.
Um what?
Yeah, hi,
Okay.
more. How are
Ah,
you guys? I can't hear you. I don't know
okay.
Um,
why I can't hear anything, but I
Okay.
can't hear you.
Okay. What you
Mike,
can do?
Let me
it,
try logging out and logging back in.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Anil.
yeah,
That's yeah. It's interesting. What is happening there? You know what I mean? Um,
yeah,
and the way the mother is actually, even the fact that the young man was calling out for his mother. You know?
yeah. And the thing, you strip that aside. The
Yeah.
question is that why? what are the thought process in another human being?
Can you hear me, Andre?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you guys now. How are we?
Okay. We're good. We're good, doctor. Fantastic, and thank you so much for coming on tonight. Um, but before we go into anything, ladies and gentlemen, let me just introduce Dr. Andre Haughton, is a senior lecturer in the Department of Economics at the University of West Indies. Are you a senator or former senator? Remind me. I
Farmer,
was
farmer, senator, farmer,
former senator. Yes, yes.
farmer.
Um, earned his PhD from the University of Essex in the UK. He's a KPMG, Peat, Marwick, Thomas Delarue, and British Commonwealth scholar. But you also are an avid writer in the Observer as well. Is it Observer or just or other
Yeah,
side?
it was the Gleaner, now it's the Observer.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of public commentary. Not as much as I used to, but
Yeah.
now when it's topical and important, for example, last week when we had the whole issue of what was happening with our financial industry, I had
Mm,
to intervene and pen a piece that basically explained how our understanding of what's been happening, and then
mm,
to give our investors an understanding of what they need to look for. For example, the capital adequacy of firms when they think about investing their hard-earned pension funds. We have to start to think about what are the capabilities of these companies to repay us in the case of a bank run, or in the case that there's a negative
mm.
occurrence within the companies themselves.
Yes, yes. Well, listen. I've got O'Neill, my good mate here, O'Neill Cross.
Blessings in Norway.
Yeah, O'Neill Cross. He's a dealer principal and 04 champion access to top tier employee and across the United States. But we're all Jamaicans, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
and and I
We all
and I
yard
More
man.
blessings.
Blessings.
More blessings.
him still not come from Ochi though, you know. I don't
But
think any of you guys from Ochi.
you see, doctor, I was telling him today, I was drinking chicken back soup, and
Yeah.
he know nothing about that. And Ochi man don't know nothing about chicken back soup.
Nothing but chicken back soup, the number one,
Uh,
the
I,
number
I
uno.
well, if D was on here today and D's on, D would confirm that we're talking about cock soup today. Getting there, she's
Hold
going
on,
all over.
cock soup and
That cock
chicken back
soup is
soup are
just a
two different things.
flavor.
Okay. She's going all over all over
Cock
North
soup is
London.
just a flavor, right?
Yeah. But you see, when you're a good chef, you don't need cock soup.
Exactly. Chef don't, and I always tell them that. That's my motto. Real chef never cook with cock soup. You're right. Never cook
All
with
right.
cock soup.
I don't know why
Or
that
chicken noodle. We don't need that.
You see,
I
you
don't know
step
why
in that Sylbourne.
I don't know why I brought that up. Then I stick to the law. But listen, doctor. I'm glad you came on because I was looking at your article the other day, and there's lots of misconceptions in a way with this SSL thing. And for argument's sake, did Usain Bolt put in 12 million? Secondly, but what was so very crucial was all these different sectors of banks in Jamaica on CB, what is regulated by FSC. And I just wanted to sort of break down in a way so people can understand because a lot of people are just, man, there's so much noise out there, doctor. So much noise out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
all right. Let's look at the financial industry
yeah.
in broad sense, right? The financial industry is made up of different companies that satisfy different types of demands based on what the clients needs. For example, you have a commercial bank that does regular deposit loans, etc. You have a building society, for example, Jamaica National, Victoria Mutual. Their mandate is to also provide loans, but mainly for building purposes and so on. Then you have credit unions who one member, one vote within the club structure, and so on and so forth. You have microfinance lending institutions as well. Now the point here, within these list of companies, there are some who are public and some who are private, right? So
Mm,
the public companies, because they have publicly listed owners on a stock exchange type of format, then these companies have to divulge their information publicly, right? While private companies who are owned by private individuals, because of the structure of the company, they need not divulge their information publicly. So a company like SSL, for example, was private, which means that it didn't have any obligation to divulge its information for the public to track its ratios, track how the company is doing, look at its annual balance sheet, look at the overall ability of the company to maintain itself as a going concern. So those were the discrepancies that we were really facing, because they were not a public company. The public could not chime in and assist the FSC, as an example, to look at how prudent the company is.
Yeah. Anil, if
No, so doctor, I have a couple of questions,
Mm-hmm.
because I think one of the thing that I always try to do is separate sort of what you talk about, your depository institutions, your savings and loans institution versus your investment institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me SSL was an investment institution. Like,
Institution,
for
yes, it
example,
was.
in the US, we have what we call FDIC, foreign, which sort of regulate the banks, right? Um, so can you talk a little bit more the difference? Because if I invest in stocks, right, there's this perspective that I could lose everything. Was
Mm-hmm.
this case here where SSL was more an investment institution versus a depository loan
Yeah,
institution?
yeah, yeah. They were an investment institution, and they were dealing mainly in large chunks of investment for some of their clients. Every time you invest, people tend to look at the rate of return. So someone would say, if you invest 100,000, you invest 1 million, you get a rate of return of 10%
mm,
per annum, a rate of return of 20%, whatever the case may be. In some cases, when it's a Ponzi scheme, you'll even hear about 100% return. People are motivated by this return. What people tend to turn a blind eye to are basically the risks that are associated with your
Mhm.
investment. And
mm,
you have both internal and external risk, right? You have market risk, as well as you have risk of theft and fraud by humans. So the idea is this: the aim of the FSC is to assist these companies to maintain the right regulatory reporting format, so that they do not mismanage our investments. It's important that they do so. The FSC, based on the information that has been revealed, were flagged by the SSC for misconduct, and I don't know if it's misappropriation of funds,
mm.
but some irregularities. We haven't seen a detailed outline of all the irregularities that they were flagged for in 2017. So that was 5 years ago. In 2021, the Prime Minister pulled out his funds from the institution for a reason that we don't know. And
Yeah.
I'm saying that if you couldn't pinch Bolt and tell Bolt, so, well, may I pull
Take,
out mine, so
take
pull
yours
out your,
too. Mm,
but it's not just Bolt. There are a lot of elderly people who have been saving their pensions. They want a safe place to put it. And this has also had a negative impact on their ability to really maintain their level of consumption for the rest of their life. Many of them are now,
mm,
their pensions are in jeopardy. So that's a real thing, because Jamaica now has what we call an aging population, which means
mm.
that we have more older people than younger people, which means that our pension base has to be broad, right? So these are things for us to take into consideration, because this is going to continue over the foreseeable
Mm.
future for the next 20, 30 years. So we have to make preparations. We can't just look at the SSL situation and say that, okay, this has happened and that has happened. We have to now say, okay, this has happened. What are we going to do to ensure, one, that it doesn't happen again? Two, it's not broad brushed across the entire financial industry. And three, pensioners in the future don't face this issue.
That's a very good point that you mentioned about about the aging pension group, because
Population, yeah.
population, because Miss Jean Lowrie-Chin is gonna come on later and talk about that, whereby our members are also worried about that, and also from the diaspora. At the same time, you have the Windrush factors. Those people are now on their ending days. That's the
Mhm.
last batch, the last bastion who are going to be sending money into Jamaica and want to know that they have that level of assurance at the same time with the financial sector. Anil, you're saying something, or
Uh,
Doctor, you want to? Yeah.
so it seems to me, just an observation. you had Cash Plus, which was what, 5, 6, I don't remember when, 2012, 2013. You had Cash Plus, plus you had some other, you know, Ponzi schemes. And it seems that there were not any lessons that were learned, because here we are. I don't remember, doctor, if it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Here we are, whatever time period after, and we still haven't put structure. It seems, looking from outside, the structures and policies in place to protect investors when you're investing in an institution like SSL, which I understand they were a 50-year entity.
Yeah, the thing is this, right? There are different types of fraud within an industry and within an institution. The type of fraud that took place in SSL, to me, some of it appeared very difficult to detect up front without an alarm. Why? Why do I say this? What's your second name, Sylbourne?
Sydial.
Yeah.
Okay.
So imagine, right now with my NCB account, I can send an email and prompt them to do whatever action I want them to do. Transfer money from my account, transfer money from one account to the next, send money to my insurance, whatever I want them to, I can send an email. Now, what if your email address is Sylbourne Sydial, and I build an email address Sylbourne.Sydial, and I send the instruction from that? Then I'm the one doing the check and balance. So I'm the one checking to see the email. I send the email to myself. I'm checking it myself. Nobody else is there scrutinizing those things, right?
Yes.
Let us say someone comes to scrutinize. How easy you think it's going to be for them to know that your real email is Sylbourne Sydial and not Sylbourne.Sydial? It's not going to be that easy. And those were some of the methods used to swindle money from a lot of these accounts. So they were very clever in how they executed it. And because they were the main points of checks and balances, that made it even more difficult for outsiders to really meticulously scrutinize these things to see what was happening.
So what you're saying, there were lack of controls. There are
Yes, lack of checks and balances within these mechanisms.
So with that, so there's an interesting development that I read, and I don't know how true it is, where the former two CEO of SSL has said they were not aware that Bolt had any money invested in the company. Which because the interesting thing, Silver and I, when we read the article, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, I said to him, "There's something not right
Not
when
I know.
we started the
Not
story."
adding up. Yeah.
Not adding it, because if I am a SSL, employee or CEO, and you have the fastest guy in the world, and back then in 2012, I think they said he put the money in. He was still on the international stage. How come you didn't use that
Yeah,
fact?
they have reasons, because remember the account wasn't registered in Bolt's name. Bolt's name was not
Ah,
Well,
it
Jen.
wasn't tied to him in any way. So for example, if they were to look at their investment portfolio and they're looking at their big investors, they're seeing some other types of names. They're seeing Peat, they're seeing these sort of names. They're not really seeing Bolt popping up. So they have the ability. They have the ability now to find out who are the background owners. But remember, when you go to St. Lucia won't give you this information. St. Lucia is saying, oh, we can't expose our clients because we signed this based on our international treaty and so on. So how are they then going to know? Somebody will have to say, oh, it's Usain Bolt's money, but that's still third-hand knowledge unless he has met with Bolt and Bolt said, okay, yes, it's my money. So there are a lot of nuances where everything is concerned, and the movie here in Jamaica is still playing itself out, right? So we have to just stay tuned.
It's very interesting you mentioned St. Lucia there a while ago, because St. Lucia name keeps coming up a lot. That I even posted it. St. Lucia, St. Lucia. What is it about St. Lucia?
All right.
That
the companies, their main aim is to make profit as much as possible.
yes.
Countries, their aim is to spend, government spending, and they do so through their revenue, collecting of taxes and so on. A lot of companies who are financial havens find other ways how to make money from the finances that come to the shores other than collecting taxes.
Yeah.
Right? So you have a company in St. Lucia, you only pay 1% tax on your profits, while you have a company in Jamaica, you pay 33% tax on your company. Which would you rather to pay? Right? So companies prefer to pay 1% because they need that 32% to do business expansion, to floss, to buy a yacht, whatever the case may be. You need that additional 32%. So a lot of the companies in Jamaica, they have other branches or head offices or different aspects of their business that is tied to the royalty payments in either St. Lucia or Bermuda, Turks and Caicos, these countries who have less tax rates.
So I sort of, Doctor, I want to go back to a statement that Sylbourne made in the first part of the conversation, and it's around confidence in the financial institution in Jamaica, because you talked about the different types. Can you talk a little bit more around, if you're in the diaspora today, right? Obviously, you're looking at making investment in Jamaica or doing depository. Can you talk about the resiliency of the institutions itself, and what are your thoughts in terms of if those diaspora members want to sort of put money there, what are some of the things that they should take into consideration?
All right, let's track back to the 90s, right? During the 90s, Jamaica was advised by the IMF to adopt 10 pillars of what we call the quote unquote Washington Consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within the Washington Consensus had pillars that said, okay, if you want our loans, then one, you must liberalize your financial industry and allow your exchange rate to be market determined. In a year, Jamaica's exchange rate moved from 6-1 to 25-1.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
So a lot of the banks at that time who had foreign currency obligations saw their debt portfolio moving from 6 million US to 25 million US in a year. So it was very difficult for them to repay this. The government had to intervene. They stepped in with FinSac. They bailed them out and stabilized the economy. Since then, Jamaica has been on a steady course of stabilizing its financial industry and weeding out the bad eggs of companies that exist.
I think we just lost them.
We just lost him there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very interesting what he's talking about. Okay, he's back. You're back, yeah? Okay. Yeah, we got disconnected, but you're back. Yeah, carry on, Sir Andre.
I think he's frozen.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah,
I wonder if he has Digicel or
a line.
Over there?
Online. Yeah.
1 minute.
Oh, a call
Can you guys
came in. We can hear
me?
We can hear you now.
We figure you have line.
Hello?
We're not hearing
Yes, we can hear you. I think
we
a
can
call.
hear you.
Did a call came in a while ago? I think if a call came in, it might mess you around or so.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If a call came in, you have to go to reset the whole thing.
I think what he was saying back in the 90s, when the Jamaican government decided to go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry.
A call came in, yeah?
Yeah, a call came in.
Yeah, we figure you have line.
We take a Lime, or is Lime you have or Digicel?
It's Lime. So when the call came in, disrupt the internet.
Yeah.
So we've moved from a rating of D over the years. I'm going to fast forward to a rating of B+ currently. What does this mean? It means, therefore, that our ability to repay as a country has improved significantly, right? Our outlook and our ability to accommodate usable funds has improved. So the diaspora basically has nothing to worry about. We're at the stock exchange conference the entire this week, and there are a lot of investors from all over the world who see Jamaica as an emerging market industry with a very robust economy that can accommodate these funds. SSL's portfolio is less than 2% of Jamaica's entire portfolio. So 98% is still valid, which means that when we're doing economics and we're looking at statistics, normally we have a 5% margin of error because we know nothing is going to be 100% foolproof. So the point I'm making here is that the diaspora, if you observe the trajectory of the economy since the 1990s to now,
Yeah.
this is the best time to invest in Jamaica. This is the best time to use your funds in Jamaica because of distance to frontier. What do I mean by distance to frontier? If you take a country like the UK, a country like America, right?
Yeah.
Those countries have grown really, really well. So if you're talking about an oak tree, and one is about six feet high, and the other one is 150 feet high, which one of them has more room to grow? It's the one that's 6 feet high because it's further away from its
Potential.
frontier, its maximized potential point than a tree that has already gone 150 feet. So Jamaica is that 6 feet oak tree. So we need to be pruned, nurtured. Now and again, there'll be weeds, there'll be bugs, there'll be pests. But at the same time, if we weed them out and we continue to nurture this tree, then it will has the potential to grow as tall as the others and to become a sophisticated economy like a UK or America. And that distance to frontier provides the potential for good return.
Yeah.
That's the point I was trying to make.
So doctor, so with that, so what are some of the consideration and cautions that diaspora members should take as they think
All right.
about
First
looking
of
at-
all, whenever we're talking about investing, the first thing is to do background research on where those funds are going, right? Understand the business that you're investing in, understand the project, understand who are the people managing these projects, because
the
people
risk?
have track records. And if I'm a thief one time, more likely you'll be a thief the second time, the third time. So
Yeah.
you have to now look at these companies and to see who exactly are managing them. You want to understand the capital adequacy of these companies. How much are they exposed versus to how much they have held back in their covers to cover any types of exposure that they might encounter. You also want to look at the risk exposure of these companies. How risky are the portfolios that they are using your money to invest in? Is it 60% risk? Is it 40? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 2? What is the level of volatility that my return is associated with, right? Because volatility is risk. You're talking about getting a return of 40%, a return of 2%, or a return of negative 20. What is the range of return that I can get from my investment, so that I understand these things before I take my hard-earned money and invest?
What I'm picking up from you, Dr. Andrew, is an echoing of what the Prime Minister is saying, echoing of what Nigel Clark is saying, is that okay, we got SSL, we got to deal with this fiasco, this kleptomania, this fraud. However, our economy is strong. That's what I'm saying.
It is.
However,
We've
notice
made
what
significant strides.
notice what Rika said: robust economy, but not robust security. Digital banking security. And I mean, we're going to open this up for persons to ask some questions, but note that point: robust economy, but not robust security. Digital
The
banking.
thing is, the thing is, right? There are always going to be what we call fault lines, right?
Yeah.
Even you look at nature, you build a building in a environmentally hazardous place, a hurricane comes, the building crumbles, right? Because there are environmental regulations governing where to build and where not to build.
Yeah.
If we take the same approach towards managing our finances, looking at call it a financial spatial plan, what are the necessary structures that are needed in a company to make sure that these things that occurred in SSL don't happen again? Who are the signatories? Are there checks and balances between internal and external auditors to make sure that these people do not take advantage? I mean, even if the government implements security on an overarching basis,
Yes.
if we are dealing with unethical people, people who are looking to cheat the system, then it's going to be very difficult for any type of security that you implement. We were thinking about something with the email. We were saying that whenever my credit card is used, I get a text message, right?
Yeah.
To say, okay, your credit card was used as this place, the draw of X amount of money. Was this you? If it's you, it's okay. If it's not you, please report. That's with my credit card.
Yeah.
The same thing can be with the bank accounts when emails are being sent. The emails here are saying that this is not the right email for Sylbourne. So you get a prompt, the bank gets a prompt. There was a requisition from an email from Mr. Sylbourne. The email seems incorrect. Right? So someone now can check to see who is sending this incorrect email. Get in touch with Mr. Sylbourne. Did you send this email? Because there is something in the computer that is reading the email and is saying, sending you a prompter at the same time to say, yes, the email is right. Yes, the email is wrong. Very similar to how I get that message from Visa to say, somebody, I'm using my credit card, yes or no. So these blockchain type checks and balances that shares information between all parties at all times when transactions are being conducted are now going to rise to the fore, and the implementation of them are going to become necessary.
So the interesting thing, Dr. Haughton, in the US and UK probably, you cannot do transaction via email in terms of sending an email. Like, for example, I cannot send an email to my bank and say, go do X, Y, Z. I could log on to my app and make transactions. And even when I log on to my app, then it texts me a password that I have to enter that it's me. So it texts me when I try to log on. It's called authentication.
Yeah, but us here as preferred customers, like Jamaicans, we like convenience. We like to think that we're at a particular level in society. So this whole back and forth, up, we have what we call personal bankers. So these personal bankers, they have your email, you have theirs. You sign what you call an indemnity form.
Yep.
So you send in the indemnity form, and that gives them the right to act on your behalf through the email system. And it works for a lot of people here. It's just no, because you can be anywhere in the world, you need X amount of money to be transferred. And some of it can be done via the app, some of it can't be done via the app, because sometimes you want to access some accounts that are not necessarily like insurance accounts that are in the back end and not necessarily accessible through the app. You need signatures from the managements of the banks for those to go through. So the idea is that we have to now figure out a way how to incorporate these checks and balances in these human monitored type of systems. Because when my little brother is doing his PhD in blockchain, and when I get a holistic understanding of it, it allows these checks and balances. And then whenever there are any changes in how the requests are made, then the blockchain will be able to identify this and send a prompter.
Let me bring in a couple questions because I think you have until you got somewhere to go. You got something until 6, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm here until 6.
Okay. Let me bring in Lester. Lester, if you have anything you want to ask Mr. Andre Haughton, Dr. Andre Haughton.
Even gentlemen, even doctor.
And blessings, Lester. I love the flags.
Straight. When they are foreign, you have to keep your yard close,
Of course.
Yeah. I've been listening for a while, and I was hoping to hear something more in depth, societal wise, right? And all the points that you made, Andre, was great. But I wanted you to go a little bit, for me, a little bit deeper into the society. We have a societal problem how we treat money, right? We treat money like it's an enemy. Now, if you have a toothache, there's a specific place to go to. You don't go to the hardware, right? You try to go to the best dentist possible, right? If you're sick, you try to go to the best doctor possible. But we don't treat our money like that.
Yes.
You understand me? And one of the reasons is that as a nation, as a society, we don't have financial literacy from a young age, right? So like people like Jamaicans, I mean, broad-brush Jamaicans now, we think some money are just the fiat currency alone. We don't understand that there are different variables of money.
Yeah.
So it is just now a lot of people understand say, because people think that a $12 million Bolt have like cash in a SSL. You understand me? And it's when things start break down now, people start understand say, and a $12 million raw cash we ain't go put on the bank, but it divided in stocks and stuff like that. So in high school or primary school, we need to start the education now, right? Sylbourne, are the Union Jack is supposed to wave in the Sylbourne. Are the Union Jack is supposed to wave, You understand me? So, but you understand what I mean? We will make better decision. We will make better decision if from a younger age we start understand the function of money, what money is, the variations of monies, so that we don't treat money like an enemy, because we treat money aggressive, right? If you give if a particular Jamaican come within a particular sum of money, you know, some same keep on dance or family sending money or something, right? The first instant is not to invest, but is to spend, you know. And so we have to start that education into the schools, that listen, you have to learn how to protect your money, you have to learn how to treat your money. So these are some of the things, and I know your background and stuff like that, so these are some of the things that we need to push.
Yeah, man, you're right. You're right.
Sorry, you know the Senate again, about me and Damien talk about them thing all the while.
Yeah.
Push this towards the government, that we need these type of literacy into school from
One of the
primary
reasons
school.
I came back to Jamaica from England was because I realized that we lack not just financial literacy but financial education, which is a thing. When I lived in England, if the Bank of England moved interest rate by 0.5%, which is 50 basis points, everyone were discussing it, right? They went to the pub, people were chatting about it. Even the people who weren't considered to be educated were really discussing it. Like, for example, inflation, and it's moving, the price of this has gone up, But when I came back to Jamaica, I realized that people weren't really attuned to these sort of things. It was like, okay, BOJ is doing their thing. It's like government, they're just government doing what they're doing. So people didn't understand interest rates, the term structure of interest rates, the relationship between interest rates and prices, inflation, exchange.
Yeah.
We generally understand the exchange rate because we use the exchange rate to juxtapose inflation in these developing countries. When the dollar slides, that is when we think everything is getting expensive, because we have a portfolio of imports that is 4 times our portfolio of exports. So we work 4 years to buy 1 year's worth of consumption. So that's what's taking place. So I began writing in the Gleaner. I think I have written in the Gleaner 276 articles. 276, the most out of all my colleagues who are younger and older than me and have retired. Right? So I've set a record in economic literacy education through articles that I've written. And this was in the Gleaner. I stopped writing the Gleaner, I think, about 2018, 2019, after Jamaica came out of the last IMF agreement. And I've taken a different approach towards publications now. Instead of taking the wholesale bulk approach, I tend now to intervene whenever times of crisis, for example. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, since this has occurred, what we're trying to do now is to set up financial literacy summits across the island in high schools and on the corners within communities. So I have a detailed proposal here on my computer that I want to send to a few financial institutions on Monday to see how best we could partner, because they themselves will benefit, right? Because when we're doing this financial literacy tour, they will get new customers and they will also get better dealings with the country, because the country is now more financially aware. So we're now planning to have this summit all island tour with financial literacy for the young people.
Can I just pick up back from what Lester said and back to you said, Doctor, and then O'Neill after? Do you think then with the whole Bolt saga, it will, if we actually engineer it right, it could turn out something very positive for Jamaica in dealing with the education of finances on a bigger picture that Jamaica would benefit?
Yeah, I think so. I think that in order for a great change to occur, there has to be a great event that spurred this change. We've been having these sort of events every year, every decade, every 20 years, every 20 years, every 20 years, but nothing has been done
Done. Yeah.
to basically make the people aware of how important it is to understand how the financial market works. And as what's his name, Lester, as he was saying, there are different types of assets with different levels of utility and different levels of liquidity, right? So raw cash is most liquid in most instances. Then it breaks down into demand deposits and so on. Everything that goes into M2 money. Then you have stocks, bonds, and so on and so forth. Securities, insurance. Then you have investment. Then you have these. So it has different layers. You have real estate investment, you have livestock, you can go purchase pigs and goats. You have so many different avenues of investment that exist that we must be able to be in a position as an investor, and that's all of us, including your children, to understand how these things work.
So
O'Neill, yeah.
what's interesting? I went to high school.
Sorry. Can I stop 1 second, O'Neill? Lester,
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
O'Neill working okay? Are you gonna be quicker, or is it?
Yeah. You hear me now? No.
O'Neill, Lester, okay, keep speaking, O'Neill. Are you like you're going a bit very quick?
No. So I was saying the interesting part for me. I went to Spalding primary school, and I still have that red bank book from NCB, and we had what we call banking day, and I think it was one day a month. There was folks from NCB, and I still have it where I see we had 50 cents in the bank, 25 cents in the bank, and around that time, this is around in the 80s, it was to teach financial literacy. So, and we had that all the way until I finished primary school, and I still have that bank. I keep that bank account because I show it to my kids and say, hey, look, I used to put 25 cents in the bank. So I wonder, as you talk about your program, is to look at what happened to that program. Why did that program, it seems, went astray, or they stopped it? And the other thing too, I want you to touch on before you leave, because I do believe if Bolt was not in the equation, we wouldn't be talking about this, right? So let's separate the Bolt piece, because I have this opinion that if it was Joe Blow, nobody would ever hear about it. So the question becomes, and I still go back to, when you're investing in stocks or crypto, they say you use risk, right? You could put in $10 million and tomorrow's zero, right? And I don't know the infrastructure that's in place in Jamaica in terms of fees and all the controls in place. And that if I come and say, Dr. Haughton, here's $10 million, right, invested in stocks, what is your obligation to that investor?
I see. Well, the obligation here, we have the responsibility to make sure that we have the necessary expertise to deal with these funds in the right way and to balance his portfolio. As it relates to losses, these institutions have insurance, and outside of the insurance, we have deposit insurance from the government. The whole idea is that the structure of the firm, being monitored if you're a public company by both the Stock Exchange and the Bank of Jamaica, must be robust, right? And if you are a public firm, then it must be robust. If you're a private firm, it must be robust. You must be able to display that your cohort of staff, managers, etc., have the ability to do what is right and to make sure that you don't mismanage these funds for your clients. That's important.
Yeah. O'Neill,
Jody,
sorry, O'Neill, can you hear clearly? Can you operate clearly?
Yeah, I could. You hearing me?
Okay, yeah, we're good now.
Just hear clearly now. Just.
Yeah. My battery was dying. Because I think that's an important point, right? Because as you said, there are different type of instruments, different type of bank accounts, type of investment, and you have to understand the risk of those investments. And then you talk about sort of the insurance. You have to be educated on what institution has those insurance, because to your point, if someone has $12 million and the government only insure, like in the US, is $250,000, do you then put $1 million in a bank, and if that bank fails? So you have to figure out those strategies to make sure you protect them.
It's $600,000.
Right. So if you put 10 million in, you're only getting back $600,000.
So therefore, like with Bolt Factor now, what's the insurance? Is there an insurance for that?
Yeah, FSC has an insurance of $1 million US.
1 million US. Okay.
Yeah, they have a portfolio of over 120 million US dollars.
Let me just bring in Jody before you go. Jody is in Jamaica. Actually, the only two persons in Jamaica is Dr. Andre and Jody. So yes, Jody.
Oh, hi, Jody.
Good evening, handsome gentlemen. How are you all doing?
She's not in Ocherius, just to let you know.
We're okay.
How you doing?
Oh, can
okay,
you all
Jody.
hear me clearly?
We can hear you clearly, Jody. Yes.
Yes, I feel fortunate to be among kings.
Yes.
So I hope you're all okay. So Andre.
Hi.
I have a couple of years. Like Lester, I kind of expected a little bit more of probably 10 years ago in terms of your feedback on the entire situation, as in putting the information in a way that speaks to the average Jamaican trying to understand this situation. Because I was listening to you earlier.
Oh, you're breaking up, Jody.
Yeah, Jody
You're breaking up, Jody.
But I think what Jody is saying is
breaking down the information so that an average understand.
Okay.
Sorry, you guys are not hearing me?
We get what you're saying.
Go ahead now, Jody. Go
ahead, Jody. We got some cutting up, but I think we understand what you're saying. Is that just like with Leicester, a breaking down of it more, and so the average man can understand.
The man on the street.
I hope you're listening, Jody. I hope you read my piece in the Observer last week, Sunday.
Well, I sent it to her as well.
And I hope she read it. You see this SSL saga. It is a, listen to her name, Saga. The name Saga suggests that the plot keep thickening. The whole is like a movie. So it has characters, it has so many things that makes it a different scenario from what Andre is used to explaining. Given the high level of asymmetric information, what do I mean by asymmetric? Information that we are not privy to.
Yes.
Surrounding this case, we have to be careful in how we articulate the story. Excellent. And the ramifications of the story. We have to do it in a generic fashion that broad brushes the whole sector, because it is still unfolding. It's still unfolding.
Yes. And there's a lot of unknown, and there's a lot of information still coming out. So Dr., you're perfectly right in terms of you don't want to seem as if you're giving advice when, as you said, the movie's still playing out.
It's still going on. We don't understand what is happening. The most we know is that as investors, and this is what we need to remember, as investors, we have to protect our investments.
Yeah.
You're right. So the things that we need to know to protect our investment is, one, who is this firm? What's their track record? What's their credibility? What type of investment do I need as a person? Am I interested in short-term, medium-term, long-term investment? Now, who is managing my portfolio? What relationship do I have with them? How does funds go in and out of my portfolio? who are the signatories to my accounts? Do I have control over them? Do they have too much control? Do I have too much money in one portfolio and overexposing myself to one particular type of risk? Do I need to diversify a bit more this portfolio? What's the rate of return on this portfolio relative to the risk? Is the expected return greater than the rate of expected return? So that should I not invest here? Is it an illusion? So these are questions that we have to begin to ask ourselves, but these questions might come at a cost to the general public.
Okay. Well. Thank you for that, Dr. Haughton. Jody, if you want to pick up on the last bit from Andre, because he's got to go now.
Yeah, what I'll do, Sylbourne, I really
Yeah.
want to hear what Miss Lowrie-Chin is saying. I'm trying to delay my movements, just listening for a bit, at least
Yeah.
10 or 15 minutes to hear how the discussion continues down the line, you know?
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to come in as well. But just look at a couple of the points that persons actually have said. Like this
Turn on
person
the light.
said, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody
right
said
here.
Stocks and Securities Limited provide highly personalized research-driven investment advisory service for individuals, families, and small, medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, focusing on Jamaican clients. I'm just picking up some of the points from persons on the side there. What would you say to that there, sir?
Provide highly personal research of investment. I think this is a really good marketing pitch. I think that this is the right pitch to lure people to bring their money come. The idea here is that you need to appear appealing to your clients, and you definitely need to say to your clients, what exactly do you do? I see nothing in a discrepancy here. They are telling you what they do. What we don't see here is that the Stocks and Securities Limited will make sure that your money is secure and managed with the highest level of prudence. And you understand these terms, ethics, and so on and so forth. We're not seeing that.
And I think the other thing, Doctor, there is, I don't know if they have them in Jamaica, but get advice from licensed financial advisors, right?
These licensed financial advisors work for the company. So when you go to them, they're going to say, invest in my company. So they are in the company. There are a few independent ones.
So the independent ones. So you don't have like here, the licensed financial advisor are independent. You do have some that are tied to companies, but there's ethics, there's laws, there's things that they have to follow. I don't know if you have that similar sort of protocols in there among your licensed financial advisors.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
They are limited. Yeah, man, they are very limited and few and far apart.
Well,
outcome? Maybe, Doctor, that's one of the outcome is how do you create sort of set of professionals that are looking out for the public.
True, and that's a gap that we have to fill.
Well, it's interesting what Rika said. Is so many questions. Who can we go to the people for answers? Is that you, Andre?
I've been that go-to guy for quite some time now. I definitely need some assistance. I will need the diaspora to start chipping in. We have a lot of experts who have learned best practices in other countries, and these best practices are transferable. Knowledge is transferable. So we now have to start thinking about not just what exists here, but what can we do to enhance what exists here as the diaspora. So when we talk to the people in the UK and in England and Canada and America, we have to begin to think about this. We can't just take our hard-earned diaspora money and send it here in a haphazard situation. We have to make sure that we provide mentorship to these situations as well.
Okay, good. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much, and you can stay right there. I'll bring in Miss Chin now, and we can get it on to the next level. Hi, Lowrie-Chin. How are you doing?
I'm well. Hello, Sylbourne. Hello, Andre, and your
other guest. How are you? Blessings.
Well, fantastic. At least you're not using flour or lime. You're doing something else because you just come in naturally.
I use Digicel.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining today and to bring in the discussion to another level. And Dr. Mr. Andre Haughton said he wanted to stay a bit to also listen to you because you play a key factor there in regards to the role that you play. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jean Lowrie-Chin, you have this organization. Tell us about the organization that you have there, Miss Chin.
Okay.
Mm,
It's called CCRP, spelled
yes,
out Caribbean Community of Retired Persons.
yes.
We started it 12 years. Well, this year is 13 years ago. And we now have over 12,000 members
Mhm.
from all over Jamaica. Now, this situation with SSL has made some of our members very nervous because, they have been using wealth managers. Some of them, they have worked all their lives and now they're saving. They have their little nest egg and they want to make sure that their nest egg is safe because that is what they're going to be depending on for their retirement. So you can just imagine that there's a little bit of panic going on among
Mm,
our I'm just trying to get this arrow down here. All
yeah.
right, there's a bit of panic. So, I get calls. Recently, I got a call from one of my members. She had all her funds in this one wealth management place, and which is a point that Andre just made that do not put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
Really, spread your investment, not too far around, but, do your research, etc. Well, anyway, it turns out that the investment house that she was in had very, very good, had a good history. I
Yes.
went to the JSE and I checked on the audited reports. I checked that they were up to date and that their shareholders meetings were taking place. I called, we have 3 members on our CCRP financial committee. I called them. They said actually that particular financial house has a WhatsApp where you can go on and check it. It's not on your laptop, but if you can see it on your smartphone. So I was able to reassure her. But of course, here it is now. This lady, she's in her 80s.
Yes.
She's sorry, not a WhatsApp, has an app. She would not be using an app, and so luckily, she does have a trusted relative. So we advised her, get your trusted relative on board. Ensure that that relative is on board, is on your account. You should not be the only person on the account. And that they are also getting the app on their smartphone and checking the statement for you.
Mm,
And so this is the general advice I'm giving to our seniors. And I think too, they have been the anchor for churches, and I think our churches need to step in now with our with the FSC and with the Jamaica Bankers Association and assist these elders to either get online or to get a trusted relative to join their account, to be on their account. Um, so
it's
that one person cannot just go in there, forge one signature. It would take more than, it would have more checks and balances.
yeah. Miss Mrs. Chin. I called you because I saw you spoke out about elderly folks in the
Yes.
recent interviews, and coincidentally, Miss Rika M, who is here in the UK, she said CCRP needs more highlighting in Jamaica and amongst the diaspora, the regular
Mhm.
working class people who all heavily reliant on pension. Because one of the things we see from the diaspora now is that the elderly folks, they are now elderly, and they are the ones who are going back to Jamaica. The younger folks, they're not so really keen on going back to Jamaica. So you've got a lot of work cut out in assuring them
Yes.
that these are the right places that they should go to, if
Right.
anything.
Yes, we
Sorry.
have
Yeah.
been doing that. We have been having talks from various institutions and guiding them and saying, listen, always get a second opinion. Your friend may have a friend somewhere. That does not mean that that is where you should go. And we do have quite a few returning residents
Yes.
who are members, especially in the central Jamaica area.
Mm.
So,
I
so,
mean,
so,
sorry. Oh,
so
go
sorry.
ahead. Bless.
It's less I want.
Bless.
No, I want to make 2 points because I have to run.
Yes,
we have
yes.
to be careful of the information, because I see some stuff on here. People are saying the prime minister knew about this in 2015. The prime minister in 2015 wasn't this prime minister. And number two, the prime minister came out and said he had no money at this institution. So let's just be careful how we put information out there, and we don't have verified sources.
Absolutely.
That's
And
true, Anil. Yeah.
we should be careful that we're not trying to make political mileage out of this,
Yeah.
because this is bigger than politics. This is about Jamaica, and we really need to be very careful. Thank you for making that point.
Mrs. Chin,
Esther.
good evening.
Good evening.
What I
Oh, sorry.
I'm
He's the one showing his flag.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love that flag. Yes,
Thank you
that
very
is a
much.
great flag. Yes.
You like
Thank you
my
very
flag?
much.
You like my flag also, Mrs. Chin?
No, it's too small. It's too small. It's too small. But
It's still there. Still there.
my issue is Andre alluded earlier that 98% of the other financial institutions are okay. They are they're functioning. They're doing well. I don't see a robust push from these institutions out there saying, "Hey, listen, this is SSL thing or an NCB thing or a Sagicor thing." There are hundreds, there are dozens of other institutions that are doing well. Their money is safe here. I live in the Netherlands, right? So, and I speak to a lot of persons in Europe and in the US and stuff like that. They are of the impression is that all of the financial institution of Jamaica is being scammed and stuff like that. The Gleaner put out a cartoon recently, or the Observer, I don't remember, Scamaica. These things are not good, right?
No,
Because
that's very unhealthy.
exactly, it's giving the impression that it is the whole financial sector that is like this, and that people are just taking people's money and stuff like that. I mean, in other jurisdiction, you would see other companies coming out and say, "Hey, listen, they're having their issues. We're okay. You can bank with us. It's safe with us and stuff like that." We don't also we are not getting the information that, listen, hey, this is SSL situation, but the situation is not just that everybody in SSL is stealing. So the information is not being disseminated in a meaningful way to let the public understand what is
Not
really
giving the
going on.
full picture. They're not
Exactly.
giving the full picture. Now, you have made a very important point, because what has been happening, the individual banks have been writing to their clients. I've got lovely letters saying, your funds are safe and these are our checks and balances, etc. But I think now that this has hit the international headlines, we will have to get some of our local spokespersons to go on those programs,
Exactly.
the Fortune program, etc. Speak up and talk about Jamaica, because our ratings, I think Andre had made this point, that our ratings by the international rating agencies have been very, very positive.
Yes.
And right now we have like hotel chains investing billions in Jamaica.
Yes.
Because they have done their due diligence and they see that we are a solid company. We are one of the poster children for recovery from COVID, because of the way our finance has been, our economy has been managed.
Yes.
So these are, as you said, these are the stories we need to be telling now.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm gonna let Anil go, but before Anil go, you can wrap up. But I must say something, Miss Chin. In listening to different stations or different networks, you think that Jamaica is gone to the dogs, and you listen to another network, Jamaica is okay. And I always say, be careful who you're listening to. You got to balance it. But I'll let Anil finish off before he goes. Just Anil has got to go. Yeah.
So two thoughts come top of mind, because if you look at the headlines across the US, what you see is Usain Bolt lost $12.5 million. So I think if I were Usain Bolt, he should come out and be a spokesman and said, look, this was an isolated incident. The Jamaican financial institution is resilient, right? And the government is put in the proper control through FSC to ensure that, to what you're saying, Ms. Chin, that these things are not happening across the board. Because my dad, who lives in New York, has money in Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
I talked to him today. He's like, I've had my account at NCB for 35 years. I'm good, right? So there are institutions across Jamaica that are resilient. So we should make sure that we're not taking that 2% and broad brush across Jamaica. Because here's what, in the US, I could tell you probably 100 athletes who have lost investments, right?
There
You
you
don't see
go.
it across,
Yes.
right? So we just have to be very mindful in terms of
Yes.
how we talk about it. And Dr. Haughton was right. Let's make sure we have the facts. So
Yes.
we're not calling scares in the institutions that are solid. So that's what I would say in my wrap up.
Yes.
Okay.
indeed.
Thank you, Anil. Anil, thank you so much, and have a good one, and drink up your vegetable soup.
No, you mean my chicken box soup where you don't know how to cook?
Don't listen to these guys. They're trying to scandalize me.
O'Neill, in England, it's a broth, you know. It's a watery stuff. It's not a real soup.
No, Mr. Tell them real Jamaican don't use cock soup if they know how to cook soup.
Exactly.
No comment. I'll stick to the law. All right, O'Neill, take care of yourself. Cheers, buddy. Cheers, buddy. Yeah.
Sylbourne, one quick point.
Yes.
Miss Chin alluded to the elderly persons. You know, I've been living here in the Netherlands 8 years now. And when you look at the elderly people, persons who are 90, persons who are 80, persons who are 70, 78, and stuff like that, everybody is using digital banking and online banking. Here, we don't go to a physical bank unless it's a huge problem. We don't go to the tax office. We don't go to the so everything and everybody does their business online and with their phone, right? I have never been to a tax office since I've been here, you know. So paying your tax, you download an app, right? And you put in the information, and the app takes you through it like 4 or 5 steps. Your situation is completed. Now, for like my mother is not so old, but I have to be staying here in the Netherlands and maneuvering her over the phone to do certain things online. You know, we have to also put an emphasis on the elder in Jamaica to teach them online banking, right? We have to also encourage their younger family members to assist them, right? And like what I see here, there's a huge public, once there's something is going to change, there's a huge public education push. We have to get, or as Andre alluded, that we have an aging society, which is true, because we have known that the birth rate has slowed down between 2011 to 2017, right?
Yes.
But we are not educated also our elderly folks to say, hey, this is how you operate this function and stuff like that. Like in the banks, you know, you can go and you can deposit money through the ATMs and stuff like that. A lot of elderly people don't know how to do that. They're used to the Dropbox thing.
Well, yes, we do have elderly people in Jamaica, but they are the more educated ones who use these systems. And well, I shouldn't say that, because like there's this lady I know, very well educated, but she has a sort of a mental block when it comes to digital. And I think maybe that's what happens with some of our older people. Even when you're trying to explain it to them, maybe like your mom, you know, I just don't want to know. They don't want to know.
Exactly.
You have to do it for me. But we have had a lot of sessions. NCB did one, and as a matter of fact, they onboarded several of our members because they broke it down and made it so simple. CIBC also did one. So we continue to do that. But during COVID, it was a little difficult because you really have to do that hands-on, sit beside the person, look at their phone, help them through. So we will be doing, thank you. We will certainly be pushing harder on that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I can say to you, Ms. Chin, is that tomorrow night, before I bring in Jody, tomorrow night at 9 p.m., I'll have Courtney Campbell, the group president and CEO of Victoria Mutual, VM, and Rensworth Burchinson, Senior VP and CEO of VM Wealth Management. They're going to talk finances with me. And it is not just because of what's been happening, but it is to explore and to let people know about their services as well. And that Jamaica is like in America, they always say, no matter what is happening in America, they always come and say, the state of the union is strong. So Jamaica is strong.
And Jamaica is strong. And I mean, VM has been around so long. My mother opened accounts for us as children. in VM. That's how long they've been around. And I've never heard of anybody losing any money from them. Or if there was fraud, as you have one time or the other, there is a liquidity in the bank. There is a system in the bank that covers those things. And so this is why, especially what you call DTIs, deposit taking institutions, they have always been under the BOJ regulations, and the BOJ regulations are very, very tough. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Jody, what do you want to say? Instead of just looking pretty, Jody, is she not? We're not hearing from Jody.
Oh, everything is delayed on you. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
We can hear you. You can hear you.
I can
You-
hear. I can hear.
Just speak, Jody, in your with your question, and then
Awesome.
Miss
Good evening, Mr.
yeah.
Haughton.
Good, good. Thanks. Very well. Thank
All
you.
right. So
For you.
one of the things to talk to. Okay, awesome. One of the things I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to talk to Dr. Andre Haughton about it as well, is I think there be an implementation of some systematic transformation when it comes to financial education in Jamaica, right? And I don't think it needs to start with just or community things where they just go out into the community and it's for a period of time. I think it needs to be strategic and systematic, starting from our young children, from their
Yes.
the way up. And that way ingrained in them, because financial literacy meant nothing till I was an adult and run
There you
business,
go.
and I needed to understand systems work. I had no clue how the banking until I was banking money for years, just putting money in there, so I'm saving money. I never understood how the system worked until I owned my own business, right?
There you go.
And the
Yes.
average Jamaica, that is even less, because they don't have to interface with the information. I don't think they're obligated to learn it. They just know that the banking advisor or the customer service agent suggested something to them that they can invest the money in. They don't do research on it, but based on the knowledge that they get from the advisor or from the customer service agent, they say, okay, I'm going to on fixed deposit. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start saving this. I'm going to do a partner plan because suggested to them. And so the average Jamaican is not going to search to say, okay, is this reliable that I can put my money in? What amount of returns am I getting? Oh, this I might get a 6% every month, or they says, okay, by the end of this time, this is how much money I should have, and that's good enough for them, right? But I think we need to do literally a systematic when it comes on financial literacy in Jamaica. And if we don't start from the base, this cycle is going to keep itself over and over and over again, because we're not going to get it as a society. That's important to be financially literate. And it's hard to be stacking, say, oh, we're going to do some awareness for 3 months, we're going to do some community awareness. By the time you hear the information, it's like a 9-day wonder. It's going to minute, and then it's going to disappear. You understand? We need where this is a part of our educational, where her kids are learning, so that when they get my age, they're not wondering, what am I going to be doing? How do I invest? How do I spend my money?
Jody. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, go ahead, Miss Chin.
Well, I'm agreeing with everything that Jody has said. I think we need to start earlier. I was lucky because my dad was an accountant. And so, that's why I was telling you, they opened accounts for us, and he took us to the bank every week. My head could barely reach the counter to lodge our saving, although it was just a few cents. But, and therefore, this is how we learn the importance of saving. So not all parents would do that, but I see no reason why the school system, and I even heard an ad from Sagicor last week that they're now in the schools. I know VM has done that, and I think Jamaica National has done. Go in the schools, help the children to open accounts. But besides just opening accounts, educate them. And we also have a Consumer Affairs Commission And I think the Consumer Affairs Commission should be stepping in now and collaborating with the FSC, the Bank of Jamaica, the Banking Association of Jamaica, and the Ministry of Education to go around, especially when a child is ready to leave school, like fourth, fifth form. Go around and ensure that they understand how banking works, what are the checks and balances they should look for, get
Yes.
them to start saving. And this is not happening. So, Jody, yes, I agree that it needs to happen. And it is not that difficult because these agencies exist to serve us and are paid by taxpayers' money. So we really need to insist on that. And that's something, again, our organization can take up because you're never too old to learn. And some of our senior folks also need to have
Yes.
that sort of training. Yes.
Thank you. Gary Graham, Reverend Graham, is in Birmingham, Leeds, in the UK. Gary, what you got to say? Because your plan is to go to Jamaica and buy out Jamaica, isn't it? Gary? Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you, Gary.
Yes.
I guess they're using all of them using Lime.
Yeah, I think there's a delay going on. I don't know what. Yeah, but yeah, I'm planning to go out there and buy out Jamaica. Really, I'm just a bit surprised. Really, of what's happened in Jamaica, because at one point, I believe that Jamaicans were very astute with their monies. We've always been very astute with money. But you see, the thing about it is this, that because of the pressures that's going on around us in our world, and especially, let's say, because we're talking about Jamaica, how things are difficult there, sometimes I wonder, looking back now, how we survive there, how people live.
Yes.
How do they live?
Yeah.
Because things are so expensive. It's just, and so it's a matter, because we are proud people. Because Jamaicans, naturally, we are proud, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all wrong with that. The point is that because we are proud in the way how we dress, how we carry ourselves, what we can do, where we can go, where our family goes, abroad and such. Then when things start to deteriorate, then we lose face, and we don't want to lose face. So what then do people then begin to do? They look in other areas that they can maintain that standard of living. And so theft, fraud, people go to extraordinary lengths in order to maintain that standard of living and the standard in which they have given others that they are living at, and that works against us. But but over the years, there is a gradual deterioration of how we think, of how we manage ourselves, because our parents, they would not. Now, I'm not saying that things have always been hunky dory with us, no, but our parents would not think of stealing. They wouldn't think of carrying out fraud in any way, shape, or form. Nothing like that. And they were very thrifty with their money, with their finances, and it was passed down to us. Something has gone wrong. Something has definitely gone wrong. Where now persons like Usain Bolt and now others are now having to be reported to say or told that their money has been used by other people without their permission. It's sad. It's sad.
Miss Chen, one of the things that I've been talked a lot about, and many people are using this word chopping, whereby they are ripping off people left, right, and center, and that many people are saying that it is a new way of doing things.
Imagine.
And now it is coming home to roost, which is right there in our home, whereby if we don't get the white people or so, which they say some deem it as reparations in America or so. But hang on a second, when they dry that up regarding the FBI, and so it's gonna be coming straight home, whereby this ripping off mentality is. What you got to say about that and the thinking that person's believing that they can rip off people overseas and then i.e. ripping off people, because that's where it's coming from.
Well, just last week, my column was about um, the moral compass. 2 weeks
Mm,
ago, I wrote about our moral compass because, as Reverend just said, his parents, no matter how hard things were, they would never, never think of doing
mm,
anything dishonest. And they passed that on to us. And they said, my mother used to say, just tighten your belt and you just cut your suit to suit the cloth you have. Those
yeah.
are some of our sayings because and again, we full family and a lot of us in Jamaica, no matter what the circumstances, single home, single parent home, whatever, prayer, going to church and so on was so important. But what happened? I think there has been an erosion in family life. That elder, that parent that used to be there to guide you, now because things are hard or because they have certain expectations, they go abroad and they send money back. And there are
Mm,
some terrible stories about the money never reaching the children that the money should reach. And therefore, there's a lot of suffering, a lot of dishonesty. And we know that the challenge to our leadership, because there's so much promise in this country, is to build a country where there are more opportunities, where there's better education, where there's better skills training, so that people can get good jobs. It's one thing to say you have a job, but if it's not a living wage that you're getting,
mm,
you are going to cause problems in the society. So it's a matter of number one, taking care of our moral compass, encouraging good family life, educating our people to the maximum of their potential, and inviting investors and local and foreign investors to create jobs that are good
mm.
jobs, that people are not just living marginally. So right now, let us face it, there's a big gap. There's a big gap between the wealthy and the poor. And there is a lot of anger, there is a lot of resentment, and it needs a lot of healing. And it's going to take economic, social, educational,
Mm.
every aspect of nation building to bring us back.
That's a very interesting point, and I'll open it for other persons. Because many people are even comparing the lady who stole the money, who made it very clear in her statement. They compare the guy who went to King's house and steal Aki, and even got locked up. And the people are even comparing the guy was in the school saying, "Boy, I'm gonna kill you, and I want to beat up the youth when the youth was running around the place." They're saying, "Oh, quick!" They were quick to suspend him, and they're saying, "Hang on a second, what happened to this lady?" It's like they're trying to say there's two sides of Jamaica now, and it's
Yes,
opening up and creating divide, as you rightly say. So people are
yes.
looking at it as if to say there's one law for the one and one law for the other.
Yes. Well, actually, I think, there is actually an admission that white collar crimes are really not as seriously punishable as other
Mm,
crimes. And therefore, they our lawmakers will have to look at this and say, now, why is it that people are getting off so easily with white collar crimes? And look at the damage that can do. I mean, it is one thing for Usain Bolt, and we're really sorry about him.
yeah.
But what is even more tragic are the pensioners who have their nest egg and now don't know where to turn because they have lost their nest egg.
Yeah, that's true. Gary Lester. Sorry, my apologies. Sorry, Lester. Go ahead. Sorry, my
Um,
apologies. Yeah.
I understand and I hear you, Mrs. Chin, but
Hmm.
and Gary, you know, I'm a '70s baby. I grew up in the '80s. It's a whole different dynamic now, right? So the same fundamental tenets that you were raised on, Miss Chin and Gary and Sylbourne and others, I was raised on these things. One of the things is that one of the greatest atrocities that happened to Jamaica and Jamaican children is the exodus in the 70s and the 80s to United States, United Kingdom, and Canada. So we
Yes.
have a lot of grandparents and uncles and big cousins raising the children. We had a splintering of the family, right?
Yes.
Until the mid 70s or the early 70s, you still had the community, the village raising the children, right? The mid 70s into the 80s, that was gone, that was done, right? What has happened is that persons start to explore other
Avenues.
jurisdictions
Avenues.
and jurisdiction really, and
Yeah.
they started to bring back some of these things to Jamaica. Then we had the introduction of cable TV, and cable TV start to infiltrate a
Yes.
higher degree of crime and corruption and misbehavior that also our society never had. 'Cause up to even the
And the
90s, we
video
never,
games.
I was about to go there. We
Mm.
never have this high level
Mhm.
of sexual perversion visually, right? We never had such access to machine guns and stuff like that, right? Our society is an open society and we welcome everything here. Now we have to look at our society as a whole and say, what is Jamaican? What do we want? What are we going to allow? What are we not going to allow? So there's a lot of things to look at. We have to look at also, even let's go back to the banking sector, financial sector. When we look at certain lower socio-economic areas in Jamaica, we have a multiplicity of industries that are almost locked out or neglected from the financial sector, right? So if you take like the parties, you have weekly parties that are in Kingston and around Jamaica, but you
Yes.
have jerk vendors that are there, right? We have persons who sell kerchief, who sell soup, who sell this and who sell that. Jamaica National, I think, was the only one at the time that had a partner plan that had these people, the soup man, the jerk chicken man, the ice cement man, come in and them have them partner plan. We need to start growing the micro
Mhm.
sector. We need
Again.
to start.
Yes.
We need to start growing the micro sector, right? We had a good thing in the 70s and the 80s. We have not seen a direct investment in from the financial institution into the little man then per se. The man who have the corner shop and him something there, right?
Hmm.
What
Yes.
you go on the bank managers or the whoever go to these people and said, what's the vision that you want? What is it that you want to do? How can we help you? Right? Grace Kennedy under Douglas Orion, I think, when Grace Kennedy products, when Lasco was kind of taking over or Nick, they realized that Lasco had people in the wholesales, in the streets, in the communities, going to the small shops, going to the wholesales. We need the financial institutions to be doing that also, right? And do what they were mandated to do.
Yeah.
Grow the micro sector so that
Yes.
because a small business really run Jamaica,
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. Those
you
and
know,
micro and
Mm.
medium,
exactly,
those are the ones that
exactly,
are running Jamaica, and they're
exactly.
not getting the service that they should
No,
get, and therefore they need to put more emphasis. I must say, Exim Bank has been, offering loans and also offering sessions to counsel such people.
Yeah.
So there are some programs, but there needs to be more, and
yes,
the larger banks should be challenged to do more
Mm.
about that as
yes,
well.
yes.
Can I
Yes.
just ask Miss Chin? Sorry, Jody. Can I hear you clearly? Let me see if you hear clearly. Jody, can you? Jody's not that clear. Okay, she's not. Miss Chin, can I just ask you, on our last minutes with you yourself, what are some of the? You may have said some before, but at this
Sorry,
point, now, what are?
Sydial is
That's okay, Jody. Let's leave you for now. Let's speak to Miss Trin. What are some of the key actions or points that you're set out to assist Jamaicans in the diaspora and the elderly folks in moving forward in light of what has happened, but more importantly, beyond what has happened. Because we're not, SSL is not it only.
Right, right. No, no, the main thing is financial literacy. It's
Mm,
not just for children, it's also for our seniors, our mature people. Because
yes,
what happens to a lot of people, it is like 5 years before they go into retirement that they go into shock and they
yes,
don't realize that they have not planned. So all these parties that this friend of mine was talking about, yes, a lot of our young people, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every year going to these parties, drinking this expensive liquor. And then when the time comes, they realize, oh my gosh, I did not plan for my retirement. And that little man there on the street side, I have seen some of them pass some of the people at the parties. Why? Because they were planning and they were saving. I remember interviewing a lady for the Grace Kennedy household workers, a household worker. Her 5 children had graduated from university and were professional people, because she said she woke up every morning and she sent them off to school before she went off to work, and the children had all succeeded. So that whole sacrificial Jamaican parent is still there. And what we have to make sure is that they don't suffer, is that they are also looked after, that the social system can look after them. So what I would say is that we want to educate our elderly. We want also our government agencies to look out
yes.
for the elderly and have better laws to protect our elderly so they do not fall to elderly abuse and financial abuse. And I would like that to be spread out to the diaspora, because I know the dream is to come back to Jamaica and live a good life. And you can live a good life in Jamaica if we get our act together. The weather is perfect, why not? So it is a challenge to all of us here to help to see how we can get these agencies
Mm.
working, agencies that are paid by our taxpayers' money to do more to build the society and to protect our elderly.
There's someone said earlier, Rika, and she mentioned something about somebody who had put so much money aside over the years for their pension. I can't seem to find it. And then when they're ready to get their pension, here it is. It is. We've heard horror stories of people saving towards pension even after receiving a receipt, and when they age, no way of retrieving the pension money, no real protection. Have you heard
Hmm.
stories of that?
Well, no, because if that happens, they must go straight to the police. They
Mm,
must go. They must go to the fraud squad and say
mm,
and show them the receipt, and those whoever it is that. And you see, this is another thing with our elderly. I think they feel so vulnerable.
mm.
They feel a little worried, and they don't stand up for themselves. So we have to stand up for them and to say to them, no, this is just cheating. This is breaking the law. And if
Yes,
you have your pension money, you better get your pension money, and go to the police and tell them, check on this and get my money, and go to the press, because
yes.
sometimes if you don't get into the media, people don't move. So these are some of the things we are doing on behalf of our elderly.
Rev, you want to say anything? One more thing to ask Miss Chin before I go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, you know, I have to ask and wonder, why do we not think that whatever happens, let's broaden the field a bit. Whatever happens in the U.S., in the U.K., I'm sure in other parts of the world, but let's concentrate on those two areas. Why don't we believe and think that these things happen in the UK, so they're gonna have, so they might, or they're not gonna happen in Jamaica? You see, I think we've got to be a little, especially these days, and bearing in mind what Lester said. I understand what he's saying. I agree with what he says, in that times change, things become more technologically minded and more geared towards the generation as it passes on. That's fine,
Yeah.
but we've also got to understand that there are certain principles that runs throughout the generations. I would say that does not change. What happens is that we fail to carry them through. That is
Yes.
why within families, when these when these things are left out, then the family structure breaks down. Everything breaks down within the family. So what are societies made up of? Societies are made up of families. If the
Yes.
family breaks down, the society breaks down.
Yeah.
If the family is strong, the society is strong. So when it comes to financial management, and when we hear of financial institutions, and you can in the past 5, 10 years, it could be longer. Um, we've heard of is it Bank of America, or even certain institutions in New York,
Mm.
certain institutions here in the
Made
UK,
of.
even
Mm,
made of. Now, at
Yeah.
one point, these guys were rock solid.
that's right.
Nobody could talk against them. Nobody could talk against certain banks here in the UK. But
Bearing
what happened?
Bank.
Yeah. But then what happened?
Mm.
You see, um, um, it's as if it's a big shock to the system that is happening in Jamaica.
Mm.
But it was also a big shock to the system in the US, and it was a big shock to the system in the UK. So why can't it? Why are we so shocked now that it's happened in Jamaica? It's happened in Jamaica because the same the same problems that was in these two other countries happen to also be in Jamaica.
It means people thief.
But but the systems, you see, where Jamaica fell short, in my estimation, is that it would seem that they didn't learn. They did not learn from what the US and what the UK did within the financial sector. If they did, they didn't implement them properly.
Well,
Mm.
They
I
didn't
must say,
implement them.
to a great extent, we learned because we did have that awful FinSac situation and regulations were tightened. But this is, this is like the acorn falling on chicken little. It's one institution, and what has made it so internationally known is because it affected our wonderful Jamaican king Usain Bolt, and we all feel it, because
Yeah.
we love him. He has done so much for us
Yes.
and for our country, and therefore it has become a very big issue. But the point is that our financial system is strong, and especially the organizations that are governed by the Bank of Jamaica, the liquidity horizon has to be so high now for you to be a deposit taking institution. So you have to be able to cover any kind of fraudulent activity that happens within those banks.
Can
It's these investment houses that do not have the same regulations and now will have to be regulated thusly to ensure that people's savings are safe.
Michelle Clark just mentioned something, and what will you say to her? I'm sure they have been addressing it in different ways. And what she said is, my nephew, who is an American dad, lived and died in Jamaica, have his life insurance. My nephew is the beneficiary of that life insurance, and up till now is having difficulty to claim it. Now I don't know how long it has happened, but what would you say to someone like that there? You know, 'Cause
So the insurance companies in Jamaica,
yes.
and as long as he has all the documents,
Mm.
he goes to the insurance company and maybe gets a lawyer to assist him. And
Mm.
if he doesn't get it, he goes to the police. I
Yeah.
mean, we really have to ensure now that people follow the law. If
Just go
somebody
to
is
the police.
collecting your premium, and
Mm.
and when the time comes, you cannot get the insurance, the benefit.
Yeah.
No, that is illegal.
Yeah.
So, and as I say, if you can't get action from, I think when it comes in the media, this is when people really hustle. So he should say to them, listen, if I don't get
Mm.
justice and get my father's what my father has willed to me, I'm
Yeah.
going to go and expose this. And
Yeah.
he'll be very,
Yeah.
believe me, he'll get a lot of attention
Mm.
once he says that.
I tell you what. I tell you one of the things I'm finding with lots of comments, and the message is getting through, and the message is not getting through, or the message is getting through, but people are saying, actually, I hear what you're saying, but the bank in Jamaica need to have better security measures in their system. It's so hard to open an account, but it's so easy for them to steal. I hear that a lot, even on my social media platform. People always write that, so it is, and therefore there's a mission. There is a sort of gap between what sometimes the government is actually saying and what some people are actually saying on the street. So the bigger picture may be, yes, everything is okay, but at the same time, people are struggling with those things. And ladies and gentlemen, and tomorrow night, please, you can ask some questions to the LOJ. Sorry. Mutual Life, Courtney Campbell, Group President of CEO of Victoria Mutual, and my plan is to get JMMB and different companies on to show what they can do as well. Because JMMB, for argument's sake, I've been doing a lot of PR thing. So I know I know Jerome Smalling, we went to school together, so all being well. But what do you say about that, Miss Chin?
I
I
want to
know.
say to,
Yeah.
yes, that as I mentioned, the regulations for BOJ, once you're a deposit taking institution, which is that you are running checking accounts, savings accounts, etc., giving out credit cards, you have to guarantee that if a fraud exists, if a fraud is committed within that organization, that the customer is fully compensated. So that is the difference between a deposit taking institution, one of the more established banks, and the wealth management houses. And this is why I say that now, with what has happened, the same regulations must apply. They must have enough insurance, they must have enough liquidity, so that if you know, as this person says, you have to get 2 JP signatures, you have to get references. If you don't do enough due diligence in the staff that you are hiring and they carry you down, the customer should not suffer for it. You should make sure you have insurance to protect your customer.
And can I ask you one more question? And this is slightly different. There's a British man who went to Jamaica of recent days, and it was some land issue, and it found out now that it was his brother who killed him.
Oh
I
gosh.
don't know if you heard it, Gary. It was his brother who killed him. It is now confirmed his brother who killed him. Apparently, it has to do with some property or some land thing. What if you're in a
Oh
situation?
yes, I did.
Yeah, what if you have a situation whereby you got families and one is elderly and they don't know what to do? Can they reach out to you and say, "Help us because I've got this struggle going on"? What help can you give persons like those, if anything?
Yes, yes. Actually, the Ministry of Justice now has a mediation division.
Okay.
And I happen to be a justice of the peace as well. And
Mm,
justices of the peace are being encouraged to bring situations like that to the Ministry of Justice. And I think they're also having these mediations within communities headed by justices of the peace. So if a relative is having that issue, don't try to resolve it on your own. Call that the mediation division of the Ministry of Justice, get advice on how you approach it. They will probably send an expert and a social worker to sit with your family and discuss it and get resolution. But if you try to sit down, these things can escalate and
yeah.
become very heated. Just yesterday, there was a headline from the Ministry of Justice saying one of the worst problems we have in Jamaica is this thing called deadlift,
Then left. Yeah.
you know, and therefore, he's encouraging people make a will, ensure that your heirs are protected, and also please get mediation before a situation breaks down and becomes a very tragic event for your family.
That's very good advice. Miss Chin. Gary, you're putting your fingers up, Gary.
Yeah, yeah. There's a whole heap of fingers me having, but and when you think about it, it's not even dead left. I mean, I used to, well, as Sylbourne knows,
Mm,
and a few others don't know, but I used to work for Victoria Mutual, and
mm,
and these stories didn't happen only when people dead. It's when people are alive, and they
Yeah.
go out there, they send money to
Mm-hmm.
buy land. The land buy, then they put up to put up the money to put up the building. When they think the building is being done, they go out there. Is just the walls. They have to run, leave that, come back to Jamaica. These stories are true to life. I know
Yes.
about them, and many also. I'm sure you've heard, Miss Jen, about people who have either come from the U.S. or come from England. The family sends somebody to pick them up, and it is only out of love for the individual, I can say, that they say
Mm-hmm.
to the individual, listen, I'm taking you back to the airport to go back home because such and such your family have paid me to kill you.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and it has happened. I know individuals. So you see, it's not even so much the dead left, which is right, but there are people who have bought property, put up buildings, and
Mm.
everything is in the family's name. The very individual who who
You are
they
trusting.
put their trust in.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Yes.
put their trust in is the very individual that brings them down. And then when situations like what Sylbourne has stated, where it's the brother of the individual who then kills him for the property, for the house. These things just don't make sense at all. But then
No,
it
no
happens,
sense.
Mister. It happens.
Yes, yes, and it happens everywhere in the world. It happens
Everywhere.
everywhere.
It
If you
does.
go on
Yeah.
YouTube, the horror stories are all there. I just
Yeah.
saw the note from Michelle that her dad has now given up, and I'd like to tell Michelle if she could just make a note of this number 469-1944. That's a general number for CCRP. 469-1944
Let me
with
just. Is that 001?
no 876. That's
Sorry.
Jamaica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
876. Yep.
876.
Yeah.
469
469
1944, or yes,
1944. Yeah.
or she can
Or
email info at ccrp online. That's one word.
I'm just
CCR,
writing. I'm writing it so
yeah,
I can post it. So email.
info info at
uh, Yeah.
ccrp online, one word,
At CCRP
p online
online. Yep.
.org.
.org.
Right.
Is it
She
something?
can
Oh,
email
dot.
us there, and we'll see how we can help.
Okay. So you said I and okay. Let me just post it there. Let me see if it is correct. If I was good at taking instructions.
869-876-46919, or email correct.
Okay, let me just change the
Go to the
email.
head of
I
class.
can't. My mother said that I didn't spell email right. She said Seymour. She's still in Jamaica. She sometimes watch my show. She said, "Big boy can't spell email." Okay. So this is an organization. This is yourself. This is yourself. Yeah.
Yes, an organization I started 13 years ago to
Yes.
support our Jamaican seniors and elderly. And our
Yes.
big thing now, big push now, is to get legislation for the protection of the elderly. We do not have an omnibus legislation to protect our elderly against abuse, financial abuse, physical abuse, etc. So we
Yeah.
have been having talks for 7 years, and we are not stopping until we get that legislation in place.
And I can imagine there a lot of heart sort of sank when they saw okay, Usain Bolt, but when they saw all the different names there as well, a lot of
Older
people may have
people, yes.
yeah. Mm. Okay. Well, listen, Miss Chen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight, and it has been really helpful the way how you sort of broke it down on a practical way how Jamaicans can assist and those in the diaspora, because I believe there's I don't know. I know we have the Jamaica diaspora thing going on, Gary. But I'm always have my personal issues with that. But really and truly, the Jamaica diaspora should have some sort of way how they can assist people when they are going back to Jamaica to
Yes.
assimilate back. but at the same time, you're in Jamaica, so you're doing that work same way. So it's for you to assimilate yourself within that structure as well. What do you think? I mean, Miss Chin.
Well, there was an association called the Association of Returning Residents.
Yeah,
I'm
Mr.
not
Percival Latouche. I need to speak to him.
right,
Percival
Mr.
Latouche. Yeah,
Latouche. I haven't
I need
heard
to
from him
speak to him.
recently, but I know
Yes,
he had been very helpful to a lot of families, and
yes,
that is something that really should be encouraged.
yeah.
Yes,
I'll reach out to him. Okay. Any last
yes.
word, Miss Chin?
Well, thank you so much. I think this is a very interesting program,
Yes,
Sylbourne, and let us keep the conversation going, and let us reach out and help each other. The most important thing is to remember we're one Jamaican family, and we need to look out for each other and help each other. Thank
yes. Most definitely. Have a good one. And as I say, you have your soup. Like those guys were teasing me, and
you. I'm having my tea.
yeah, and me have my Jamaican flag.
Very nice. Keep it going.
I don't, Gary. I don't see no Jamaican flag behind you. Uh,
Oh man, no, not yet, not yet,
not yet.
no,
And
not at the moment. But
and
listen,
I even have my
Sylbourne.
I even have my Jamaican badge here that I got from Burchill Whiteman many years ago.
But listen,
Yeah.
I I have seen Mish. I've got a fan club there, Mish. I haven't seen much of Diane, but then
No,
there is one.
let me
There
release.
is
Let me
one.
release. No, Gary, let me release Miss Chin. Let me release Miss
Yes,
Chin.
please excuse
Okay.
me. Have a good
Thank you
evening,
very much.
everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye
Take
now.
care. Thank you. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Yes, Gary,
No,
you're saying now.
I'm just saying my fan club seems to be growing every 6 months, because I had Mish. I've seen Mish. Every now and again I see Dion. But then there's another one that says Hi Rev Gary, and that is a Rika M. So I'm wondering, who is this Rika M?
That's Sharika. That's Sharika. You might have known
Okay.
Sharika. She's been on the show already. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. All right. Okay, well,
But
it's growing slowly.
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will say today was very interesting with Dr. Andrew Haughton. I want to thank him for coming on today, breaking down a lot more on the whole, and he used the word saga. When you say saga means to say it's coming from all different facets. Depending on who you're listening to, you think that Jamaica gone to the dog. Depending on who you listen to, Jamaica is okay, and it needs to have a balance, because when I listen to different persons like Rika, like Michelle, like different persons breaking down, even Ron Williams here, he's saying that things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Anarchy stalks the land. You know, going back to Jamaica to be robbed of your life saving and sometimes your life. He's not speaking just to sensationalize things. He's speaking facts
Yeah,
as well, Gary.
yeah.
You know,
That's
so that is that, and so for persons who want to contact um Miss Chin to assist, there's a telephone number 876-469-1944, or email at info@ccrponline.org. Um, to get hold of Orton, you can always link me for that. I think only want to link with him, so you can always link me for Dr. Andre Orton. Any last word, Gary? Sorry.
No, not really. I've enjoyed. I've had a big problem on my end. My computer. Every time I try to connect to you, Sylbourne,
Yeah.
I get a massive cyber attack.
Really? Oh
It
my
will seem
days.
that way. It will seem that way. So it looks like you're doing damage out there, man. You're doing damage.
Oh my days. Yeah. Well, it's good to have positive damage. Thank you, Michelle, for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, remember tomorrow night at 9 p.m. I'll be having the CEO of Victoria Mutual, Group President Courtney Campbell, and CEO of CV of that. Let me just take this off there. And of course, I'll have Resworth Burchinson, who is the Senior VP and CEO of VM Wealth Management. Let's talk finances with the Victoria Mutual Group. You can send some questions through as well, and we'll have conversation. I really want to take it, Gary, as much as possible to having conversations that will lead to solutions. I'm tired of the chatting. I'm tired of just coming on and just talking. It's all great to talk. Nothing is wrong with talking, but I believe it's very important to have solutions, and it's very important to get persons who can create solutions. Like Miss Lowrie-Chin, she break down how you can get solution instead of trying to fight and try to have problem with your family, whatever. Go to the mediator, which is the government, which I never knew of, is being created, and they always say go to the police. And try to sort it out. Dr. Andre Haughton and from Leicester and from Jody and yourself and Anil talk about financial education. So therefore, at this time, maybe it's a very opportune time for persons to really get into solutions, and the fallout with the saga or so Usain Bolt will make things maybe possible for everybody. Yeah. Miss Chin gave a contact number and email info. Yes, it is there. It is running across the screen. You can get their details there as much as possible. Gary, any last thing? Rock and roll.
No. I think everything went well tonight, and
Yes.
I enjoyed the show. I did
Yes.
enjoy.
Yes, and we'll have more where you can be getting more solutions as well. Gary, just one more thing though. Anil and I spoke about it briefly, and it was really sad, that killing of that man in America.
Yeah.
That was really sad there.
It
And
it brought tears to my eyes because
yeah,
he's around the same age as my son,
mm,
and it wasn't last night. I think it was the night. Was it last night or the night before? I can't remember. But when did you see when they interviewed the chairman for the Memphis Council?
I don't think I saw. I don't think I saw that one there.
He just broke down in tears. He just broke down, and that touched me. That really touched me. He's saying that this is his last year. He was going to retire, and then this happened. And it further touched me because it's the he is the age of my youngest child.
Yes,
And
and then when we look at the five perpetrators, I mean, the
I mean, look
policemen
at
who are
them. No, listen. Look at these men, because
yeah.
they are men. Look at them now. Can you envision any one of these men by the stance that they've taken there for them to do what they did? No, you don't see any sign of any kind of aggressiveness coming from them.
Yeah,
That is the sad part of it.
and
in addition to that, being black, it is sad.
And the whole thing about it is that it many people are now talking about, like, how do you demonstrate on something like this, because they're not white. Do you go and break down your communities now? I mean, it puts into perspective the police force. Then is it the police force that believe that they have to operate that way? I mean, I don't know. Nothing I can do can justify it, and I feel it because this morning I had a men's breakfast at my church, and we had about 20 men or so came there, and one of the things we spoke about, Gary, is about taking the mask off, because men are so caught up so many times. We can sit around with men for years and talk to them, but you don't really know them, while women can get together for one day and they talk about everything and they build up their gem. That's why I see so many women have the organization, they're getting strong, but men tend to have so many masks on.
You see, behind all of this,
Yeah,
in my mind, in my head, questions are being asked. But what were they told to do? Because they were part of a new unit that has been set up. That's information that seems to be coming out. So what is it that they were told? What did they have to look for? What type of individual? How were they supposed to act? How were they supposed to behave? Because obviously, based on all of the crime and the George Floyd's, let's say, that's been happening previously, obviously, there was some plan across the board for police officers, black and white, on how to de-escalate things, how to not escalate things.
Yes.
But obviously, in this case, something happened. Something took place for them to behave the way they did. Now, obviously, again, if you want to look at it from another point, I'm not here to stoke up racism or anything like that. That's not what we're here for. But then if you look at from the slave and the slave master point of view, the slave will carry out what the master wants. So in terms of what the police officers were to do, what were they told? What were their instructions on that particular evening, or their instructions as a unit? Because it just couldn't be a unit of 5. There's got to be more people in a unit across a particular city. There has to be. So what were they told? What was the instructions? And sadly, it was them. Sadly, it was them.
Yes. And
Sylbourne, for a traffic offense. What was the traffic offense? I'm not sure I caught that.
Well, even the chief of police said they checked back and they're still trying to find this particular traffic offense. But even if it is a traffic offense, what warrants of traffic offense?
Exactly. It didn't warrant that.
Yeah. Well, Michelle mentioned a point there again. You see how fast they were fired though when it happened with other races.
Very fast.
And I had to say that O'Neill and I spoke about it, and we had to really say that was really fast.
Yeah,
very fast. But Crump is now saying now that is the litmus test. That is now going to be the prototype. You know, I mean, he moved away from the race factors to say it was quick, but say, okay, let this now be the prototype. If anything like that happen, they get dismissed very quick. I didn't know about this till it happened. No, I mean just yesterday when they released the tape. It was 2 weeks ago. And I'm sure that if the police knew that they were actually filming, they would have not turned on their body cam or so, because only one body cam, but then another CCTV was showing that. It is very sad, Gary, and lots of people are saying, you know, and it's for men in the United States of America to really come together and pull together at this time, you know, and really, I don't know, there's got to be something deeper though, Gary, deeper.
Well, I think it's men across the board, not only in America. It's men. It's got to be men in the West or in the East, but because we are talking about things that affects us even here in the UK, I think, let us say, it's men. Something has to happen. Something has to take place. There's got to be an awakening. There has to be. But then, who is the individual? Who is the individual to really stand and to speak into the situation, into the lives of men? I mean, it's bad. It's bad.
My friend in America, she says every time her son goes out, she worries. I mean, she just worries. I mean, it's not about, because right now it's getting worse. It's not just racial. It can just be anyone, not just racial. Yeah. So she worries every time he goes out, even though it's, you know, but she worries now. It's gone beyond level. But hey, we just have to pray to God and just pray that all be well. Gary, listen, have a good night.
Yeah, the same to you. It's late. Tomorrow is another. It's work for me.
Yes, and we work today at church more as well. See you, Gary. God bless you. Yes. Bye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining today. For those on Instagram, you may have realized that I've turned off the Instagram bit because the battery is going down. But the Instagram is just for, it's like, what should I say? The Instagram is like a shop window. It's a shop window for you to come in and for you to actually be pointed to the Sylbourne Sydial Show YouTube channel. And that is where you come on and you can actually get more information. But I want to thank the guests again. I want to thank the guests and thanks all O'Neill. Thanks for Lester. Thanks for Jody. Jody, sorry your system wasn't working properly, but we got your question. And as once somebody messaged me and said that great question that you had. Maybe we should type it up. We should type up your question. And also for Jean Lowrie-Chin, I've known her for years, and she came on at my beck and call, which is really good. I'm grateful for that. And also for Dr. Andre Haughton, we've been speaking for a while, for him to come on. It's very good that people come from all different spheres, different political persuasion, and able to look for solutions. And as my good friend Corey came on today, and he said it's kind of just have kind of just talking, just talking. Talking is good, but let's have opinionated banter without facts, and fact checking is damaging, and we need to actually have proper solutions. Because I tell you what, if you watch and you listen to everything out there on social media, you think that Jamaica gone to the dogs. But Jamaica's not gone to the dogs. However, I still say, if we're not careful, we can find ourselves in a Haiti zone. And you wonder, how can you be in a Haiti zone? Well, I'm sure Haiti wasn't Haiti at one point. Haiti became Haiti after a while, and it happened. So therefore, we've got to use the time and create these solutions. And for persons like myself and all of you who are online listening, is to pen and use me as a conduit if that's what you want, and bring on these topics, bring on these shows, and thank you so much. And remember, tomorrow night, do check me out with Courtney Campbell, Group President and CEO of Victoria Mutual Finance, and Resworth Burchinson, who is the Senior VP and CEO of VM Wealth Management. They're coming on tomorrow night. And let's talk finances with the Victoria Mutual Group. A lot of persons say they like to hear what they have to say. Well, tomorrow night you hear what they want to say. And if you know of other companies in Jamaica, I would like to talk to them, like to interview them as to let's talk finances with National Commercial Bank. Let's talk finances with the MMB. Let's talk finances with Magico. Let's talk finances with Proven. Let's talk finances with BOJ. I did interview the Bank of Jamaica governor some time ago, the previous one. Let's go for it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. The situation makes me sick. Okay? Thank you very much. Have a good night, and God bless you. Peace out.